OJ51 here, and back with a video that I've wanted to do for a while. The Lost Godzilla films. Yes, believe it or not, there are a lot of Lost Godzilla films, concepts and designs that they were going to do. However, they changed for whatever reason. And the website Toho Kingdom, we'll link in the description so you can go check these out yourself if you want, has collected an entire list, not only of the Godzilla films that are lost, but also other concepts for other kaiju films as well. So, I like to go over them. I wanted to do this for a while. I didn't realize there were this many, but, yeah, let's get right into it. I'm going to do a little quick fire review, what I think about them. So this video shouldn't drag on for too long. If there's any movie that you hear me talk about, you want to hear more thoughts about, just leave a comment at the bottom. Till then, let's begin. First, another thing, drink something a little different tonight. Reasons. Alright, first off, slated to come out in 1963, they're going to do a continuation of King Kong vs. Godzilla. I guess they're going to do a kind of trilogy battle with Godzilla and King Kong. Godzilla wins the second one, and the third one it was more of a definitive draw. Because the first movie, in my opinion, it was a draw. Okay, they both fell into the water. They both left. It was a draw. There was no winner at the end of that. But, you know, people say Kong won, so it'll be interesting to see a continuation. But, what are you going to do? Okay, next up we have Frankenstein vs. Godzilla. The film Frankenstein Conquers the World is, without a doubt, one of the best kaiju films from the Showa series. It introduces Baragon, an awesome dog-looking dinosaur monster that burrows underground. Looks really cool. Also, we have Frankenstein, the nuclear mutation of the famous book monster, Frankenstein's monster. I just call him Frankenstein because, yeah. And originally, it was supposed to be Frankenstein versus Godzilla. However, they changed it at the last minute for reasons, and they made it Frankenstein Conquers the World and introduced Baragon. I like that idea a lot better because that gave us Baragon and allowed Baragon to watch destroy all monsters, because he didn't really do anything in that movie. Okay. Next up, in 1966, there was the film Operation Robinson Crusoe. King Kong vs. Ebra. Ebra, as some would know, is the sea monster, and originally the film Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster was supposed to be King Kong vs. the Sea Monster, but they changed it out and put Godzilla in there. I like that idea because, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bigger Godzilla fan, and the whole thing with Kong in that situation, yeah, they had Godzilla interact with the female, like how Kong would. That should have been changed. I guess it was too late in the day, and they already had the script done, and rather than change something on the fly, they just went along with it rather than alter the entire movie. Wish they would have caught that a little earlier, but what are you going to do? Oh boy, here we go. In the 60s, a certain Cape Crusader was really catching on. Batman. The Adam West Batman. And originally they wanted to have a crossover film, Batman vs. Godzilla. Yeah, you heard me right, Batman vs. Godzilla. Oh, I am so glad this movie did not come to pass. I guess a deal couldn't have been reached, a smart enough movie couldn't have been made. Now, I've seen some really cool fan art online that would make a future film around this time interesting, where Batman creates a massive Bat Jaeger to battle Godzilla. That sounds pretty cool, but think about it, this is back in the 60s. So you have anti-Godzilla repellent or something in his belt. Is his belt big enough for that? Okay, moving on. Alright, Godzilla versus Hitoda. Pretty much, Hitoda is a massive starfish that is mutated by pollution that lives in the sea that comes across Godzilla and the two battle. Yeah, it sounds like Godzilla versus Hydra. So, no loss there in my opinion. Maybe they could have done something a little interesting with it. You know, the starfish mutates into something else. But early concept sounds of it, no loss. Speaking of Hydra, they were going to do Godzilla vs. Hydra 2. I like that idea. I would have loved to see that. Hydra was a very interesting and a very new kind of monster. Rather than the typical bipedal dinosaur-looking monster, you know, like how Godzilla looks, or Gorosaurus, or Baragon. It was a monster made of pollution, augmented by different other factors placed together as well. It was an interesting idea. However, the end of Godzilla vs. Hydra, you know, it made it look like Godzilla destroyed Hydra altogether, but they did have that little tease at the end of the credits where they're back at the raw sewage plant and another Hydra head pops up, pretty much saying that this will never end. That would have been an interesting little side movie to do, but in favor, I guess they moved on to other projects. I think Godzilla vs. Gigan came out at that time. And speaking about Godzilla vs. Gigan, before they had that idea, they had this movie called Godzilla vs. Red Moon, where he battles three different kaiju. Sounds more like the Japanese self-defense force really gets into wanting to fight back, and pretty much invading monsters, one male, one female, one scary looking, try to take over Japan. Godzilla puts a stop to that. Huh. Sounds kind of familiar. Well, maybe not. Okay, here's an interesting one. Godzilla versus the Space Monsters, Earth Defense Directive. This was supposed to come out in 1972 as well, and apparently this had Godzilla, a new type of monster called a Majin, I think, or Gene or something, I forget, and it was supposed to have Gigan, Megalon, and King Ghidorah, and it looks like they're trying to place Anguirus in there and have Godzilla pretty much battle all of these invading monsters. Sounds epic, but sounds a little too cluttered. A problem that people had with Godzilla Final Wars. And that did get a little cluttered at times, but this seemed like they wanted everything to happen at once. And that would have really hurt the movie, in my opinion. Okay. The Return of King Ghidorah. Sounds great. Another solo film. However, in my opinion, the timeline kind of got a little messed up with Destroy All Monsters taking place in the future, and apparently all the other Showa films went back in time, back to their original time. So to do the Return of King Ghidorah, there's room to do it, but I feel that we got something better when we got Godzilla vs. Gigan, because we did have King Ghidorah return, King Ghidra in this case, but we also got Gigan as well, and we got another screen appearance for Anguirus, so I'm content with what they gave us. Alright, next on the block is Godzilla vs. Gargantua, a sequel to War of the Gargantuas, which is a sequel to Frankenstein Conquers the World. Two massive kaiju born of Frankenstein cells. One, a bloodthirsty monster from the sea, and another, a more gentle monster that lives in the mountains, battle each other across Japan. Now they want to add Godzilla to this. That sounds awesome. Let's go ahead and make this movie after Godzilla Resurgence, okay? People love the Gargantuas. I love the Gargantuas. Make it happen. I don't care if it's a CG film where you just dub the voices in afterwards, cartoon, I don't care. I want to see Godzilla versus the Gargantuas. That would be awesome. Okay, just my opinion. My humble opinion. Okay, the reawakening of Godzilla. Originally supposed to come out in 1980, it depicts Godzilla battling a massive dragon and, you know, trying to get Godzilla back to the status quo of being the king of the monsters. That film was not made and actually was put on hold. And the dragon was actually dropped, and we got Godzilla 1984. The real return of Godzilla. Or reawakening, I should say. Okay. In 1989, they had a movie called Godzilla 2 slated. Pretty much in the near future, Godzilla goes up against incredibly advanced computer system. No. I like Terminator, but, you know, it doesn't really, I don't think that really would mesh with Godzilla. So, another idea for Godzilla 2 was Godzilla vs. Biollante. They just made Godzilla vs. Biollante, so, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. In the early 90s, 1991, they were having the plans of also remaking Godzilla vs. King Kong. Or King Kong vs. Godzilla, except in the 70s they had a remake of King Kong here in the States, which I feel is kind of underrated. I like the suit, I like the end, the work that they put into it, and have that Kong up against the Heisei Godzilla, say 89 or better yet 91 at this point, would have been an epic film. I suppose they couldn't get the rights to King Kong, and they opted to use King Ghidorah. And we got Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah in 1991. I say that's an awesome trade-off, because apparently we are going to get Kong vs. Godzilla in 2. I'm not holding my breath anymore, because I hear nothing but bad things. You know, people are leaving, people aren't doing, they're still writing it. It's just, I'm worried about the legendary Godzilla franchise. Okay, so hopefully we get it. I'm not holding my breath though. Okay. Okay, Godzilla vs. Gigamoth in 1992. This was pretty much a monster resembling Batra. Godzilla would battle this monster. However, they changed the idea of it and actually made it Godzilla vs. Mothra, the battle for Earth. And Gigamoth was transformed into Batra. Okay, good stuff. I liked what we went with afterwards, because Mothra went off to do her own series, the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, which had its ups and downs, but, you know, it was a great step for her to do. Okay, in 1993, we had an early draft of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, which Godzilla was to die, and baby Godzilla was to take over as the new Godzilla. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that. I like the ending of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, where you think he's dead, but then through magical Rodan, we got Godzilla with his uranium breath. We got to see Godzilla and baby Godzilla together, and then grow, and then Godzilla to meet his demise later, and then Godzilla Jr. take his place as Godzilla. Interesting idea, but I feel it would have been too early for Mechagodzilla to deal with it. Okay, a film that a lot of people have been wanting, and I'm not gonna lie, me too. Godzilla vs. Godzilla, also known as Godzilla vs. Ghost Godzilla, where the ghost of the 1954 Godzilla rises from the ocean and is tearing apart and actually battles the Heisei Godzilla, originally slated to end the Heisei series. Sounds interesting. I would have liked to see that, but we got something a little different in the Millennium series, but they dropped Godzilla vs. Godzilla for different monsters. Okay. Speaking of ending the Heisei series, Godzilla vs. Bagan, or Bagon, however it's pronounced. Bagan got some traction in the video game Super Godzilla. And he's an awesome design and massive towards Godzilla. It would have been an interesting film. However, they opted to go with Godzilla vs. Destroya instead to end the Heisei series. Okay, so now we're going to get into the Millennium series. They're actually having an idea of Godzilla battling Kamacuras. or at least a flock of them, or a herd of them, or whatever the multitude of that is. But yeah, just go back and watch Son of Godzilla. You'd see how pointless that movie would have been. Then we have Godzilla vs. M. Originally slated to come out in 2001, where a space monster makes its way back to Earth and battles with Godzilla. Okay, I don't want to get into too many details of it because it's quite lengthy, and I like the films we got instead around that time. Okay, and the final film, the original idea for Godzilla Monsters All-Out Attack, where Godzilla would battle Varan, Baragon, and Anguirus. Sounds very interesting. However, the original idea, I guess they didn't go with it because they felt that Anguirus and Varan weren't well known enough, even though Anguirus was Godzilla's buddy in the Showa series. So they opted to take out Varan and Anguirus and place Mothra and a good King Ghidorah in the film. I really liked GMK, so I'm not going to complain, but it'd be something to see Godzilla battle the classic monsters as well. And to leave off, Godzilla versus the Devil. Originally, Godzilla was going to battle a massive demon calling itself the Devil from the center of the earth, and that was the way how I think the Showa series was originally supposed to be slated to end. Not really. No, I wouldn't go with that. So that was the Cutting Room Lost Godzilla films. Okay, link in the description so you can go down and read about them. But yeah, it's something I want to talk about for a while. And you know, some of them were good, some of them I'm glad they didn't do. But what are you gonna do? Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed. This is GoJ51 saying good night.